It's off and running now. There we go. Select it. Refresh it. Oh, yeah. We're cooking now. Cooking now. Oi, what's going on now? What's going on now? March is almost here. Better fights are upon us. Potentially. We'll see. That's what we're waiting on. Good Apex fight card? Is that what this is? Is that what I'm seeing? Good Apex fight night? Very interesting. Well, we'll give it a little bit of a wait before we get things going. 7 Eastern, 4 Eastern for the prelims. We'll take a look at the card. We'll always start things before we get into anything. Let's see what's going on. Don't care. Charles Johnson, Ramzan Temirov. That's going to be a fun one. Charles Johnson. Talking about him the other day. Very active. Very good. Very long. Very rangy. This guy's going to go somewhere. How old is this guy? How old is Charles Johnson? Charles Johnson. UFC. Tapology page. Go to. There he is. Young man. 1991, so you can do the math there. It's 2025, January 10th. Just had his birthday a little over a month ago. This is Charles Johnson. Do the math there. What is that? 25, right? Plus 9. Not a spring chicken by any means. Check out his ESPN webpage. It's a little easier to see. Not easy to be a 34-year-old in the lower weight classes, but the guy's super fun to watch. All right. So he came into the UFC. Had a bit of a slow start against Mokaev, we'll be honest here. We can't hype him up too much in those terms. Is he ever going to be champion? I'm not so sure yet. It's hard to say at this age. Came into the UFC late notice against Mokaev. Lost. Close decision. Beat Zhlagas in that second fight. Jimmy Flick, good win. Jimmy Flick's athletic. He's dangerous, but he's not like a great fighter. Okay, he's not great from start to finish. Okay, we've proven that over time. Lost to Ode Osborne. Tough. Ode Osborne is not an easy out in the flyweight division. Cody Durden and then Rafael Estevam. But then he comes back, beats Azat Maksum, Jay Cadley, Joshua Van, Sumadarji. All legit good wins at flyweight in this day and age, right? So now he's got another foreign guy, Temirov. It's going to be an interesting fight. How tall is Temirov? So we're looking at 5'9" versus 5'4". 5'9". 5'4". Whew. I don't know. I hope Charles Johnson pulls out the win. This one's also on short notice, late notice here for him. Going to be a fun one. Andrea Lee, J.J. Aldrich, don't care. They might scrap it out. Just don't care about it. Lucas Almeida, Danny Silva. This one's going to be an interesting one. Danny Silva coming into this one 9-1. Last fight was a win. Who was his last fight? I can't remember. We're going to have to go to the fight card. To check things out. Kop Almabayev, obviously. Headlining the card. Danny Silva. Doesn't even have a profile on ESPN. Oh, the Josh Kulabau. If I'm not wrong, could be wrong here, is that MMA A-holes here again. What's up, my guy? How we doing tonight, MMA A-holes? We'll give you a little bit more than brain rot here on this channel, or at least I try to. Again, I'm not the expert that's going to break everything down, the P's and the Q's, dot the I's, cross the T's. That's not me here. We're just chatting it up. MMA A-holes, though. giving it a check out. Appreciate that. Appreciate the shout. Like the channel. Been watching for a while. I'm not consistent, though. I don't have the time anymore to watch all the content. That's the sad fact of growing up and becoming an adult. Unless I'm mistaken, he took the Josh Kulabau fight on short notice, but I could be wrong there. Who is his opponent on the Contender Series? Angel Pacheco. I do not remember that fight at all. But again, in fairness, I can't keep up with all these events and all these fighters anymore. But Lucas Almeida, tough out. This one's going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it. We can't really say that he came in overweight. Did he miss weight, or was it a short notice? Catch weight at 150, I don't remember. Anyway, Douglas De Silva de Andrade still doing his thing. 39 years old. This guy has been in it forever. Been in the UFC since 2014. Good grief, I did not realize Zubaira Tukhugov also been in the UFC since 2014, but I guess at this point, that lines right up. Neither of those guys fight very often, but look at this. Fights 2014, takes a year off 2015, 2016, 2017, 2 in 2018. I mean, this guy takes a year off in between fights, has not fought since June of 2024. He fought once in 23, twice in 22, twice in 21. I mean, he's had, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-ish fights in the UFC in over 10 years. Not an active guy, but I don't know. I can't really remember. I can't even remember this guy's fights at this point. That's the problem I think that I'm really having with this. Nothing comes to mind. Nothing special stands out. There's been fun fights. That Miles Johns fight, was that the fun one? Or was it the Cody Stamann one that was pretty fun? Cody Stamann fight, I believe, was pretty good scrap back and forth. But he's a gamer. He's 39. He's always in shape. He'll come into this one looking pretty good against John Castaneda. John Castaneda also still floating around looking at his record. Kind of middling in the bantamweight division. Been around a while. Went on the Dana White Contender Series back in 2017. Good grief. Won that one. They didn't sign him. Went back out on the regional scene. Combate. Came back. Nathaniel Wood. Damn. That was 2020, bro. That was 5 years ago. Against Nathaniel Wood. Where's the time gone, man? Came back, beat Eddie Wineland. I remember that one. Miles Johns lost to Daniel Santos. Ooh, Gaffarov got the pick up there. Keon Hong Kang got the win there, and then lost to Daniel Marcos last time out back a year ago. Lots of inactive guys on this card. Shoosh. Woo. Chepe Mariscal coming back. Ricardo Ramos, I like the guy. I'll be fair to him. I like his fight style. It's fun to watch, but will he or will he not break in this one? Will he or will he not break in this fight? You look back at all of his wins and losses. Looks great against Josh Kulabau. Looks great against Danny Chavez. Looks great against Bill Algeo. Bill Algeo, always a tough out. Journey Newsom win was solid. He's got good names on here. Ayman Zahabi. Look at what he's doing now, fighting José Aldo. We can talk about that as well. The new announcement, the new fight that's been made. I mean, this guy beating some of the best guys out there. Bantamweight's always tough, obviously, but losses to Julian Erosa, losses to Charles Jourdain in 2023, loses to Zubaira Tukhugov, loses to Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy, not a bad loss in hindsight, but at the time you're kind of like, okay, where's Lerone Murphy going to go? Not super exciting, not super flashy, but now we see that Lerone Murphy's picked things up. Lost to Said Nurmagomedov, same thing. Early run in the UFC, you think, okay, got some good wins, got a couple losses, but they're against solid competition. Now, having lost to Charles Jourdain and Julian Erosa back-to-back, and then he picks up the comeback win against Josh Kulabau. Okay, Josh Kulabau, I don't rate him highly. Good, scrappy guy, but he's not like some technician, some excellent fighter. Just scrappy, good, solid fighter, right? Chepe Mariscal is not the kind of guy that's just going to quit on you. He's going to put the pace on him. He's going to make the fight tough. This is the kind of fight that you could see a Ricardo Ramos breaking in. But it's one of those fights where Chepe's been in some wars. Could Ricardo clip him? Could he catch him slipping? He's the better athlete. Maybe. Maybe not. It's possible. I mean, look at it. Chepe, has he even lost in the UFC? No. Hasn't even lost in the UFC. Comes in short notice, takes on Trevor Peek, gets the win there. Jack Jenkins, solid pickup, but that was the dislocated elbow. Yeah. Morgan Charrier, good win. Damon Jackson, solid, decent. Okay. Also been a while since he's fought. August. It's an interesting one. This is why I'm not like an expert. I don't break everything down. We're just talking. And I like it. I like the matchup. It's going to be a fun one. There's interesting stories here at play. Can Chepe keep it going? Will Ricardo Ramos break down in this one again? Is he going to toughen up eventually? Still young, 29 years old. Can he get things going? Anyway, Mario Pinto coming out of Portugal. I believe he fights up in England, or he trains out of England. Austin Lane, 6'6", former football player. Dude's been around a while at this point. 6'5" versus 6'6", two big dudes that do not weigh 265 pounds. Two legit athletes in the heavyweight division. Austin Lane, not one of the guys that comes to mind when I think of good, skilled technician fighter, but he's tough, he's big, he's athletic, and this is how you're successful at heavyweight. Beat Rebels Despain last time out. Was that the one that he wrestled? Fucked him? I believe it was. I just don't care for the guy because he's not great at fighting. But you can't disrespect it at this point. In this day and age at heavyweight, guys just are not the same caliber of athletes, and the guys like Austin Lane are able to thrive, survive, move on, and advance into the top 20, 25 of the heavyweight division. Good for him. Made a bit of a living, but I believe that he's going to run into a brick wall here with Mario Pinto, who's actually like a decent, talented fighter, young guy. 26 years old, am I reading that correct? 26 years old, 6'5", 240 pounds. Probably coming into this one, 250. The guy's a good fighter. Okay, Austin Lane. He's tough. He's gritty. Bites down on the mouthpiece. Come forward. Yeah. Mario Pinto should get it done there. Alan Nascimento. Who's he fighting? Not so sure. Danny Barlow, Sam Patterson. This one's fun. Tricky striker, Danny Barlow. Heavy-handed. Was he left hand of God? Is that his nickname? And Sam Patterson. Tricky on the ground if he can get it there. I believe he's moving up to welterweight for this one. Had been fighting it at lightweight for a while. I'm excited to see it. I'm a big fan of Danny Barlow. I like what he's got. I like the prospect. He's a little bit green in MMA still, and I think he showed that in his last fight, but he did break his arm. Have to mention that. Still pulled out the win over Varetnikov. We saw that Varetnikov doesn't have a lot in the tank. Lost Austin Vanderford. 34-year-old Austin Vanderford. Can Austin Vanderford come in here and do things because he's been taking some time off, working on the craft? I don't know. We'll see what Austin Vanderford, how that one plays out. But Danny Barlow got the win, close over Varetnikov. Hopefully, it was the broken arm that was really holding him back a lot in that one. I hope that's true. Sam Patterson, though, long, lanky kind of guy. Dangerous on the ground if he can get it there. I just don't know if he can. I don't know if he can get down an athletic guy like a Danny Barlow. Danny Barlow, 29 years old. Where is he fighting out of? Law School MMA. Never even heard of it out before Danny Barlow, to be fair. Picked up that win against Josh Quinlan. Good win there. Great knockout on the Contender Series. And, of course, the Varetnikov split decision. But should be looking a lot better. Heal up the arm. Get back in there. Hyder Emil William Gomes. Listen, Gomes is great. Solid guy. Just don't like to watch him fight. Dude's boring as hell. Dude is boring as hell. And I can say that. He's skilled. Probably pick up the win against Hyder Emilio. 27 years old. Dude's still young. Develop some dangerous tools. Develop a dangerous skill set. And I'll become a fan. Got nothing against it. Good win over Francis Marshall. Jarno Aarons isn't anybody to sneeze at. Joe Anderson Brito shut him down. But it was close. It was a close fight. Joe Anderson Brito, freak athlete, very dangerous. Stayed defensively sound. I mean, you can't fault him for that, in fairness. But I'm just not a fan of the style. Not interesting to me. But he's a good fighter, and he'll probably pick up the win here. Meanwhile, complete opposite. Esteban Ribovic. Dude couldn't have a bad fight if he tried. 28 years old. Hack Press is still 29, bro. Holy crap, this dude's been around for forever. And same kind of thing. Like, he's coming on a bit here. He's looked a bit better than he had. I'll give him some credit. Hack Press surprised me in his last 3 fights. Has looked a lot better. Yeah, the KO over Malarkey, that was surprising. But Malarkey after that Roofy loss, just not the same. Just not the same after that. Jared Gordon picked up the win there. It was more impressive in his last two fights for sure. Crossover, bro. Crossover always doing great stuff. Late night stream, yes sir. Again, not going to break down the fights. We're going to leave that for Crossover. Anybody watching this after the fact, check out Crossover stuff. Dude breaks the stuff down. Crosses every T, dots every I. That's his thing. We're just talking about it, getting things going. Hack Press, though. Esteban Ribovic is the favorite in this one. Obviously, the younger fighter. I like him. My favorite of the bunch here on this main card. Don't understand what Cody Brundage and Julian Marquez are doing in the co-main event. This should be Hack Press, who's on a bit of a roll, and Ribovic, who's just a fucking stud. Okay? Nothing else to it. Dude's a fucking stud. Absolutely. So, co-main event, Brundage, Marquez. I just don't care, man. I just don't care at all. Couldn't give two shits about this fight. Marquez. The fuck has he done since 2001? Or 2021, excuse me. Dude's 34 years old. Had some aura after those 2 wins back-to-back. And just lost everything, dude. Got the win over Darren Stewart. Lost to Alessio Di Chirico, Maki Pitolo, and then Sam Alvey back-to-back. Okay, 2 submission wins. Then the whole deal with the Miley Cyrus stuff. Valentine's Day. Dude lost all his fucking aura, and I just haven't seen anything from him since, and nor do I care to see anything from him. And Brundage, of course. Similar story. But since the Bo Nickel fight has proved a lot of people wrong, I believe. I believe this guy is not as bad as they say. He's got some skill. He's got some talent. He's a better athlete than Julian Marquez. Julian Marquez, 34 years old. Time to move on. Hasn't gotten a win since 2021. Really don't want to look at women's underwear right now. But, yeah, that's ESPN for you. Anyway, Manel Kape and Asuo Mavaev. When Manel Kape is on, when he's on, one of the best fighters I've ever seen. For years. And again, I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details, the breakdowns, the technical side of things. I can do that. I can. But when I look at this guy fight, and when he's on, when he makes weight, when he can get in there, fantastic. What performance on here? When he showed up, when he was healthy, when he didn't have a broken fucking toe. When were you not impressed by the guy? Look at what Kai Asakura just came in and did with Pantoja. Put on a 2-minute banger. All right. Kai Asakura, legit. Okay. Yes, he has the loss to him. Yes, he has the loss to Kyoji Horiguchi back in the day. Wins over Ian McCall. Former UFC fighter, right? Destroys Ode Osborne. Destroyed Zlagas. Beats Dvorak. Schools Felipe Dos Santos. Schools Bruno Silva. Who's doing that to those guys now? Bruno Silva is fucking good. Okay, and this guy schooled him like he's a fucking bum. Like, I got in there in the cage like I knew what I was doing, pretended to know what I was doing. That's what Bruno Silva looked like. He looked like a guy off the street in there with Manel Cap. The guy's fast as hell. He's got pop in his hands. And he's got great takedown defense. Can Asul Almabayev get the win here? Manel Cap. 31 years old. Okay. Been around a long time. You don't know when these guys start to fade in the lower weight classes. But I don't think that that's going to be this fight. I think that he's going to pick up the win. I hope that he picks up the win. I think that the UFC lined this up for him to get a win because they want to prove, can you make weight 2 times in a row? Can you get in the cage 2 times in a row? This guy's had so many cancellations. Pull up his Tapology page. Pull up his fight page. Any of it. And you will see exactly what I'm talking about. The cancellations are innumerous. He's probably had more cancellations than he has had fights. And I can't see them right when I want to see them. Let's go to Tapology. Please have all these fucking pullouts, dude. I cannot understand how this guy does not get in the cage. It's absurd. Backing it up. There we go. Kai Asakura. Okay. Was taken on Bontarine. Bontarine, legit guy. They knew what they were doing right when he came in here. Canceled bout. August 2020. December 2020. They tried to put him in there against Pantoja. Also legit. Pantoja's been around. Was he in the top 5 at that point? I don't remember, but he was definitely in the top 10. Okay, so they're giving him a top 10 guy right off the bat. Right off the bat. 2020. They finally get him in there, 2021. Takes the loss. Looked decent in moments, but loses the fight. Never got things going. Very stagnant performance by Cap in this one. Then he takes on Nicolau. Same thing. Pieces him up a little bit in moments, but Nicolau kind of just rides it out, gets the win. Easy decision for Nicolau. Okay, comes in there, fucking destroys Ode Osborne, destroys Zhlaga Shamagulov. I mean, within a minute, within seconds. Add it up, what is that? Not even 60 seconds combined in both fights. Just over 60 seconds. He's going to get in there again within 3 or 4 months in April. Canceled. Wants to get in there in June. Canceled. Finally gets back in there against Dvorak. Gets the decision. Rides it out. That's a Dvorak fight for you. Wants to get back in there immediately in March 2023. Canceled bout. July, canceled bout. September, canceled bout. Finally gets back in there against Felipe Dos Santos. Gets the win. Dominates. Easy win. Mateus Nicolau, again, wanting the rematch. Tried to get him in there January. Can't get him in there. April, can't get him in there. Takes the loss to Muhammad Mukayev. Gets the broken foot. Everything goes wrong in that fight. Looked like he probably could have walked away with it if he had defended. He was defending takedowns well enough with a fucking broken foot. Pretty damn impressive, if you ask me. Okay. A little bit of a setback. Takes 5-6 months off. Gets back in there in December. Looks fucking fantastic. Better than he ever has. Supposed to fight Brandon Royval. Perfect fight. Brandon Royval pulls out. Can't make the fight happen. All right, who do we pull? Asul Almabayev. Guys look good so far. Well, but what's he done? What's he done? Not a lot. Mateus Nicolau, good win, right? Jose Johnson, that's a good win. CJ Vergara, good win. Ode Osborne, good win. He's doing good stuff. And he's definitely dangerous. And he definitely can win the fight. There's definitely a chance. And I'll give him a chance. I just don't know if it's going to be his night. I don't know if he has the takedown. I don't know if he can chain takedowns together well enough to get down on Manel Cap. I just don't know if he can. I could go back and rewatch the fights right now. Do I have the time? Nope. Like I said, check out Crossover MMA. That's where you want to listen to this stuff. That's where you want to get the breakdowns. That's where you go. My heart of hearts tells me that Manel Cap should and could go on a generational run here, get to the title. Dangerous enough to get rid of a Pantoja. He could do it. And I think this is the time. He needs to do it. He needs to prove that he can make weight, prove that he can get in the cage, prove that he can win a fight against a top contender, prove that he is a willing and able title challenger for the UFC belt. Prove that he's reliable. Because that's the only thing suffering right now. He is not reliable. One of my favorite fighters to watch. But he doesn't fight enough. He can get in there. They schedule him for fights, but he just doesn't get in there. And you need your champion to be reliable above all else. So yeah, good fight night, solid fight night, good fights from top to bottom. Women's fights, just I don't care about them. They are what they are. They could be scrappy. Don't really care. Charles Johnson fight, that's going to be a good one. Lucas Almeida, pretty fun to watch usually. Douglas de Silva de Andrade. Or Silva de Andrade. John Castaneda, whatever. Ricardo Ramos, always fun to watch. Mario Pinto, proving ground. Can you do what you say you're going to do? Danny Barlow. Dude's going to be something. Whether he gets fraud checked in this one or not, don't know. If it goes to the ground, I'm definitely looking at Sam Patterson to pick up a win here. But I'm going with Danny Barlow, personally. William Gomes, very talented, very skilled, just not fun to watch. Esteban Ribovic, banger. Haqparast does come to fight sometimes, but will he fight smart? Very likely will. Could Haqparast pick up the win here and just use his veteran tactics to get the win? It's potential. There's potential there. Brundage Marquez, definitely not a co-main event spot, but Brundage probably picks up the win. Younger, more athletic fighter at this point. Julian Marquez hasn't won a fight since 2021. We just talked about that. And then Almabayev, Manel Kape. If this was 3 rounds, I feel like Manel Kape could probably get on his bicycle and eke out a unanimous decision. I hope that he gets it done. I think he can get it done. I think he can get a finish here. But Asu Almabayev, dude's legit. Okay. He's good. So, let's see what the fuck is going on. What is going on? More betting. More crypto shit that I don't understand. 172. Jonathan DeBella. Sam A. Long in the tooth here. Interim strawweight kickboxing world championship. Anybody out there looking forward to that one? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. It's interesting. It's one championship. Their matchups and their matchmaking is more interesting than the fights halfway turn out sometimes, but kickboxing, Muay Thai, any of that shit, it's going to be a banger. What is he talking about? Chatri's talking about something. No expert around the world said Josh Paccio is going to finish Jared Brooks in the second round. So that for me was probably the best performance of the night. Nope, was not expecting that either, considering their first fight. Well done there. Yep, here's a look at the card for you, the whole thing. Top to bottom, everybody's faces, names. Where are we? Thursday now. Thursday morning. Woo. It's almost Thursday morning. Fiziev saved the card. Of course, we can talk about that. Tawin Chai. What's MMA Guru got to say? I'm just saying this wasn't long ago. Gene Silva missed weight and came into this fight heavy. Jourdain is not a grappler and resorted to this after being dropped. Bryce Mitchell will scale to the back from here every time if Gene lets him get to his hips this often. Obviously, brutal knockout finish by Gene at the end of this fight with Jourdain. When was that? UFC 303, back last year, International Fight Week. Fun fight, for sure. But yeah, I mean, he's taking on Bryce Mitchell now, who's a good grappler and somebody who hung in the pocket against Edson Barboza. Bryce Mitchell, mind you. But don't be shocked if you see a little bit of a murder in the cage scenario with Bryce Mitchell. Whew. Fiziev's coming into this on fucking 2 weeks notice, and he's the betting favorite. I think he won the first Gaethje fight. I don't think that, for some reason, that was like a crazy take, a hot take back in the day when that first happened. For some reason, that was crazy that Fiziev won the fight. I felt like you were a crazy person if you thought Fiziev won the fight. I thought he won the fight, but now it's like not even a hot take because people come to their senses and they're just caught up in shit and like, oh yeah, Gaethje fraud checked the guy. I think the younger guys are all better in a lot of sense than the Dustins, the Justins. It's just a matter of, can they win the fights? Can they outcraft the crafty guys? And Fiziev, it was close. And Justin had put the damage on him. He looked like he was more beat up. But I think Fiziev won the fight. I think he outstruck him. I believe he outstruck him. I haven't watched that fight in a while, to be fair, so I can't really say for sure. But, I mean, good grief. Coming into the as a favorite 2 weeks late notice, just fucking ridiculous. Bet the house on Gaethje if you're a betting man. Bet on Gaethje because he had the full training camp. Fiziev, huge guy for lightweight. I don't know if he's even going to make weight. Interesting there, for sure. Waking up, see Dana announce some banger fights while the UK sleeps again. Yep, Gaethje Fiziev happening. Thank goodness, because we needed something on that card. Looking at 313, it's weak. It's a good the pay-per-view is solid, but it's a weak card overall. Pereira on Goliath, gonna be good. Can't go wrong with that. Great main event. Gaethje Hooker, though, was the fight to end all fights. The fight of the century. Fight of history. Could have been. What could have been here? Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker. Two guys that just love to fight. That just love danger. Dangerous guys. That just want to get in there and murder a guy. Like that would be what they would do. Fiziev, obviously this is probably the best choice on short notice like this. Fiziev hasn't been in the cage since August 2023. I mean, it's been a long time. Got that. What did he tear? He tore something in his knee. Tore up his knee pretty bad in the Gamrot fight. Gamrot with the, magic win there. Using a bit of that black magic on Gamrot's side. Got the win there. Of course. Injury. It's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be good no matter what. I think Fiziev's always in there for a fight. Always comes to fight. Always comes to throw hands. Great Muay Thai. It's fun to watch. And Gaethje obviously comes to sling it out. Bahamunda's Jalen Turner. Not the name value that you really need for a feature spot on a pay-per-view. But come on. If you know what this is, you know that it's going to be a fucking banger. You know what this is going to be. Both of these guys 6'3". Both of these guys super talented on the feet, super fun to watch. Both have pop in their hands. Are these two guys that care about wins and losses? Maybe, maybe not. But this is the same. This is the tall guys version of Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. Just going to be absolute chaos in there between two 6'3" monsters at lightweight. Why the fuck is Amanda Lemos and Yasmin Lucindo on the fucking main card? I don't understand. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, moving on. Bobby Green, Mauricio Rufy. Same thing. Good lightweight matchup. Good test for Rufy. Rufy again out of the Fighting Nerds camp. 11-1 coming into this. Bobby Green. Make or break here for Bobby Green. Are you going to continue to be something, or are you now the unranked gatekeeper, Bobby Green? How old is he now? 39 years old, 38 years old. Bobby Green's really, really technically sound. But if the chin's not there, if the speed's not there, then he is essentially nothing, because that is what he used to rely on. The chin, the speed, the athleticism of slipping and ripping. That's Bobby Green. And if he doesn't have that, Ruffy's going to run all over him, and Bobby Green should probably not be fighting some of the top guys at lightweight. But I hope it's a fun scrap, because Rufy showed that Does he have a bit of a gas tank issue? Potentially. Was it a late notice change up an opponent? Yes. Will Bobby Green be able to test him? We will see. Bobby Green is not an easy out for anybody, but if his chin's gone and the speed is gone, Ruffy might run all over him. Might get a finish. Curtis Blades, Kanaev, Joshua Van, Ray Tasuria on short notice. Was going to be Bruno Silva. Was going to be a banger. Was going to be a fight of the year contender. Instead, they took it away from us. Bruno Ferreira, Armin Petrosian. The prelims are solid, but I do not understand. Why the fuck is Amanda Lemos and Yasmin Lucindo on this fucking main card? Give Curtis Blades his due. Rizvan Kunaev, if you want him to be a star, if you want him to take a top 5 fight in his first UFC fight against Curtis Blades, put it on the fucking main card. If you're going to make this motherfucker a star, fucking do it. Commit, go all the way. Why is Yasmin Lucindo and Amanda Lemos on the fucking main card? Do not understand. Does not make any sense. Do not care. Amanda Lemos, they promised that she was dangerous and she has power in her hands, and I just haven't seen it. Just haven't seen it. Has she got a couple of TKOs? Absolutely. Is she probably a skilled fighter? Yeah, absolutely. Is Yasmin Lucindo a skilled fighter? Yeah, but I don't fucking care because they're not dangerous. They're not dangerous. These women's fighters are not dangerous, and I don't care. I do not need to see this mess. Give Curtis Blades his due. Give Joshua Van his due. Give Bruno Ferreira and Armin Petrosian for all I care. Put him on the main card. Carlos Leal, the juice head himself, put him on the fucking main card. I don't give a shit about the women's fight. Myron Santos and Francis Marshall, for crying out loud. This guy's, you want to make young stars? There you go. Put them on the main card. That's what I want to see. Don't care about the women's fight. Put it on the early prelims. Put it as the first fight of the night. Miss me with it. Miss me with it. There's like 3 or 4 women that I even care to watch that I won't be taking a bathroom break with. Call me sexist, call me misogynist, whatever the fuck you want to call me, man. Don't care. They're just not dangerous. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same as it used to be. They're just a step behind, and it's a fact of life. I don't care to see it, man. Don't care one bit. But yeah, man. Fiziev saving the card. Props to him. Coming off the injury. Needs to get in there and get a fight. Gonna be good stuff. I'm excited. Saving the card. Because without it, oof. I mean, that's a fight night main event right there. That's what we want. That's what we want on our pay-per-views. If you're going to do a non-title 5-rounder, which I think it's only a 3-rounder, but that's what we want to see. A Fiziev, Gaethje level fight. You cannot be putting Yasmin Lucindo and Amanda Lemos as your feature fight. If Justin Gaethje had fallen off that card, absolutely unacceptable. UFC Kansas City, main event's going to be Khalil, Roundtree, and Jamal Hill. What the fuck is this on my page? Where's my fucking fight shit? Somebody give it to me. Please tell me I liked something. Nothing, man. Slacking today. Let's see if the UFC even posted it. Did the UFC post it? No, but they posted Mitchell versus Silva. Again, if Bryce Mitchell can get to Gene Silva's legs, he can beat him. But the power is going to be a deterrent. Edson Barboza does not have the pop that Gene Silva has. Charles Jourdain does not have the pop that what am I talking about? Totally reverse here. Excuse me. Bryce Mitchell. He's got better grappling than Charles Jourdain. He's got better grappling than many of the guys that Gene has fought. But Edson Barboza doesn't have that kind of pop to put it on Bryce like that. Gene's the younger, more athletic guy. Some people are saying Bryce is going to win. It's potential. It's a tough matchup. Like, it's a ranked fight for Gene Silva, and he hasn't fought that level of competition yet. Gaethje Fiziev 2, just announced that. UFC Kansas City's coming together. Ming Yang Zhang, the what's his nickname? Fucking Snow Tiger or some shit like that. Hey, Anthony Smith, legend of the sport. Retirement fight. Got something for you, Anthony. On your way out. A little bit of a present, easy fight on your way out. Stud athlete. One of China's biggest prospects. Heavy-handed. Athletic. Yeah, Ming Yang Zhang. Not ranked. Nothing to gain here. No name value to win off of this one for Anthony Smith on his way out. Dude. Props to him for taking the fight. I'm not the biggest Anthony Smith fight fan. Like his fights, not the biggest fan of Anthony Smith. I respect what he's done. The hustle, the grind. I get it. Props to him for taking this fight on his way out. But Jesus Christ, the UFC is not giving him any favors at all. Not doing him any favors whatsoever. Giga Chikadze. David Onama. This one's going to be a fun one. Are you going to be here for the long-term, Giga? Or are you going to give it up? David Onama, definitely the better athlete, so to speak, in this one. It's going to be a hell of a scrap. Hell of a scrap. Giga's coming back. Can he get things going? We'll see. David Onama's very fast, but not a flashy striker. Not a flashy striker, Onama. So this is that kind of matchup where you're going, okay, Giga's the flashy guy. Think about the Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland matchup. Sometimes the fundamentals can win you fights against the flashy strikers. Just throwing it out there. Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. Banger. It's going to be a 30-second banger. Somebody's going out. Somebody's going down in the first round. Leaving it there. Very exciting. Aliskerov and Muniz. Another one. Who's actually coming? Who's actually going? Aliskerov, obviously they lost to Robert Whittaker. Muniz has lost a couple to some of the top guys in the division. Not ranked anymore. But Muniz did look promising. When was that? 2021, 2020, 2022. Had looked pretty good coming up the rankings, but ran into a couple of guys. And now taking on Aliskerov. That's a good, fun fight. Kansas City's looking like a solid fight night. Khalil Roundtree and Jamal Hill, though. The main event. Kansas City. What more can you ask for? Perfect caption here. What a bet. Violence. Crank that shit to a fucking 10. This shit's going to be fun. Boxing, Muay Thai, styles clashing. Perfect matchup. Now, people were saying, is it going to be Khalil versus Yuri? Does Khalil get to sit out and fight a Yuri who's now once again, kind of the de facto number one contender behind Magomedov? What am I saying? Magomed. No. He got a shot. He took a shot. Looked good in the fight against Pereira. But you don't just get to sit out and get all those fights. The UFC is setting a dangerous precedent when they're doing that. They're setting a dangerous precedent when they're letting guys move up, try to take 2 belts, that kind of stuff. They want to reset, hard reset, fix everything, go back to the normal. They're smart. They know what they're doing. It's a business, okay? Khalil Roundtree, Jamal Hill is the fight to make. Jamal Hill coming off the loss. Roundtree got a shot at the title coming off of a loss. Get him in there. Somebody needs to get a win here. Both these guys are dangerous, fun to watch. Fan favorites now, I think, in a lot of sense. Jamal Hill, everybody loves to hate Jamal Hill. Dudes, he is what he is, but he's self-aware. And I respect the hell out of him now for being self-aware. If he wasn't self-aware, he would be really annoying. He'd be kind of a punk, but he's self-aware. And that's what a lot of these guys need. And Khalil Roundtree, honestly, wears his heart on his sleeve. Sometimes a bit too much, but he's an honest guy. And people like Roundtree because he has fun fights. Made it close with Anthony Smith in moments there. Not a good look, but then did better against Alex Pereira than many of his previous opponents, even though he was just standing with him. Very impressive by Khalil Roundtree in there. So this one's going to be a fun one. Looking forward to this fight. I don't know who's not looking forward to this one. Going to be all violence. Going to be all action. Great shit. There's a full card for you. Hell of a main card for fight night. Very, very good stuff. Now, Where does that leave Yuri? Where does that leave Yuri? This is my question. Because as I just said, he is kind of the de facto number one contender. But I'm looking at the rankings. Alex and Magomed. Take them off the board. 2 top guys off the board. Is Yuri injured? Does he need to take time off for some reason? We don't know. Jan Blachowicz is fighting Carlos Ulberg at 6. So 3 and 6 are booked up. Rakic is not going to fight Rakic. We saw that fight play out. They're not going to do the rematch. Khalil Roundtree, Jamal Hill are now booked up. So if we take this, you know what? Fuck it. We'll take the entire thing. We'll take all the way to Johnny Walker. Fuck it. We'll go all the way to Dominic Reyes. Then we'll match make the light heavyweight division. If we can get something going. There we go. And we'll just say Chi, C, Alex. Okay. Alex and Magomed booked to fight. Let's blow this up. Let's zoom in a little bit. Can't see a fucking red highlight. No, you cannot. Unacceptable. What am I doing? What am I doing? Can I use a computer? No, I cannot, apparently. All right. Magomed and Alex booked up. Blachowicz. Who's he fighting? Ulberg. UFC London. Booked up. Dominic Reyes. Booked up. Krylov. Booked. Khalil Roundtree is now fighting Jamal Hill. Also booked up. Rakic doesn't have a fight. Rakic, Ozdemir. Have they fought before? Off the top of my head, I don't think so. Off the top of my head, I do not believe so. Let's double check. It's late. Don't trust me. I'm not a fucking expert.
I don't know how to respond.
He has fought Ozdemir, and it was a loss. That was 2019. Split decision, though. Could they run it back? That's possible. Of course, I don't fucking remember that fight. I believe it was not very exciting. So, Rakic, Ozdemir makes sense. Johnny Walker says he has a fight on the books. We'll mark it with a yellow. Potentially booked up. Are they going to run him and Ozdemir back? No. Are they going to run Rakic, Johnny Walker? I could see that happening. That's entirely possible. That's very much possible. Let's see if we can't turn this into 2 columns so we can look at it better. See what I mean? I don't know what I'm fucking doing. Don't know what I'm doing. I give up. All right. Alex Magomed booked up. Jan Blachowicz, Carlos Ulberg booked up. Khalil Roundtree, Jamal Hill fighting. Nikita Krylov, Dominic Reyes fighting. Johnny Walker, Ozdemir, that's not happening. Ozdemir, Rakic, that could be in the works. A rematch there. Haven't fought since 2019. I could see that being the case. That now leaves Yuri as kind of the lone man out. Is Israel Adesanya talking about fighting soon? Let's see what the latest is. Obviously back with Alex Pereira the other week. Manel Kopp speaks on Israel Adesanya. I'm sad about his last fight. I'm really sad we have beef, but he's a legend. Okay. Respect there. Israel Adesanya after that loss. I'm not seeing much. I'm not seeing any headlines. Crazy stuff about Israel saying that he wants to get back in there immediately. Obviously, he probably wants to get in there. I did see that he wants to fight again. He wants to fight a couple more times. Could it be that they're trying to wait? They've made the Jamal Hill Khalil Roundtree fight because Yuri's going to potentially fight an Israel Adesanya, fast track him to an Alex Pereira matchup potentially. Wouldn't put it past the UFC. That's all I'm going to say. Is that something I want to see? Is that something I need to see? Not really. But it does leave Yuri without a fight. Are they really going to run him back in there against Alex Pereira again for a third time on a full camp? Yuri's a big star. Alex is a big star. I could see them doing it. Max Holloway, Volkanovski comes to mind, obviously doing that. It's probably going to be Ozdemir Rakic in a rematch. That's my prediction. Johnny Walker, no idea who he's fighting. Dude should move up to heavyweight. Rakic should move up to heavyweight. Two huge guys. We've seen what Kennedy and Nzechukwu is doing, and we've seen what others like Jilton Almeida are doing, who are really light heavyweight guys who are moving up and looking really good, having all the muscle on them, looking big, looking strong, but not 265 pounds. They're going in there as just absolute freaks of athleticism and running rampant all over these guys. Guys like Ryan Spann, big light heavyweight, needs to just move up and fight at heavyweight. They'll break into the rankings easy as pie. Just do it. Just move up, guys. Like, what are we doing here? We've been talking about this for a couple weeks now. Move up. Do your thing. Get it going. And do some damage at heavyweight. Make heavyweight great again. That's all I'm going to say. Rakic, Spann, Johnny Walker, move the fuck up. Get the fuck out of light heavyweight. Too big anyway. Cutting too much weight. Move up to heavyweight and run all over these dudes. We know what Walter Walker's doing at heavyweight. Dude looks like a fucking monster. And he's built like a light heavyweight. Okay? Everybody else, take note. Do the same thing. Make it easy on yourselves. Stop cutting the weight. Run all over the guys at heavyweight. Look at the heavyweight rankings. Look at them. Waldo Costa or... Ugh! Mick Parkin. Ugh! What the fuck is he doing in the rankings? How are these guys ranked? All right, Gaziv, I mean, obviously the GOAT. I mean, what can you say? Kennedy and Nzechukwu, washed out of light heavyweight. He's fucking ranked within a year at heavyweight. Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa. You think these guys, could they knock out a Johnny Walker? Could they knock out a Rakic? It's possible. It's possible. Sergey Spivak, Marcin Tybur. Those guys, you think those guys beat a fucking Alexander Rakic bulking up to heavyweight? You think that guy beats a Ryan Spann? Ryan Spann's not even that good. Not even that great. He probably beats some of these heavyweight guys. Jilton Almeida's in the top 6. Jilton Almeida's probably going to win his next fight. Break into the top 5. Kunayev's getting a fucking shot, not even ranked. First fight in the UFC, jumping in there against top 5 Curtis Blades. Tell me that a Rakic, a Ryan Spann, and a Johnny Walker don't just run over Mick Parkin. Don't just run over Waldo Cortez Acosta. Don't just run over a Shamil Gaziev. Potentially a Tai Tuivasa. Potentially a Sergey Spivak. Talson Teixeira looks like a fucking axe murderer in there. Looks fantastic in there. Not a massive fat ass. Okay? Let's be honest. Let's be straight up here. You shouldn't be fighting if you're an overweight, morbidly obese monster. Great. You have power in your hands. Great, Waldo Cortez Acosta. You played baseball. You learned how to throw an overhand right. You learned how to throw a big fucking looping punch. Good for you. You got power in your hands. Blessed by God. You're a decent athlete. That does not mean that you are a top 15 caliber fighter in the UFC. Apparently in 2025 it does. Apparently in 2025 it does. Embarrassing, pathetic. UFC should be embarrassed. Stop putting heavyweights in main events. Just pathetic, just useless. Do not need to see it. But who do you guys think? Who do you guys think Yuri Prochazka's got up next for him? Just a wild theory. Could be. I lean towards saying I hope it's not Israel Adesanya, but it could be. I don't think Yuri's the kind of guy that just wants to sit out and wait for his title. The dude's got morals. That dude's respectful. The guy loves the fight game. He loves everything about fighting and being a warrior. Like, I don't think the guy's just going to want to sit out and wait for winners of fights or losers of fights. I think he's the kind of guy that wants to get back in there. And Israel Adesanya, if he's looking to fight again and not fight and cut the weight down to middleweight, look out for Yuri Prochazka. I see fans on Twitter asking for this. It's not something that I'm asking for, not something that I need to see. But don't be surprised if it happens. Don't be surprised if that happens. Not even one bit would be shocked. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. What else happened? José Aldo, Ayman Zahabi, that one's happening. I'm with, I saw a video. I saw MMA Guru made a video. I like a good old MMA Guru video here and there. Dude's funny. If you think he's crazy, he's probably a little crazy. Everybody's a little crazy. But I saw a clip or two. Something came out of his video. And he was talking about, he was just fucking pissed off at what they're doing with José Aldo. And you know what? I think he's right. I think he's fucking right. How do you disrespect a legend like that? Legend of the sport. José Aldo. You're just feeding him to your contenders. You're expecting that they beat him and they get the name value off of him. Or you get the emphatic finish. Well, look at what Mario Bautista did in his last fight. Dude fucking nut hugged José Aldo into the fence. Pathetic, embarrassing. Hard to say I can remember a bad fight, but that one will live on in my memory for a long time. I have not been so pissed off like that for a while. That fight, absolutely maddening. Maddening to watch. And now he's taking on Chito. All right. Good fight. I'm excited for it. Should be fun. And honestly, I hope that Chito fucking puts his face through the canvas for what he did to José Aldo. And you know how I'm pulling up to watch Chito do absolutely terrible things to Mario Bautista. Yeah. I think this is the mentality of many MMA fans out there. When Dana White released UFC Fight News Now, North and South American fans, hell yeah. The rest of the world, what? What is going on? What? What? How'd you know I'm rooting for Ankalaev? I think Ankalaev could get it done. I think he's good. I think if he plays it smart, he can beat Alex. I think he's got just enough on the feet to kind of hang with him for a bit. And if he plays it smart and he actually tries to take Alex down, I think if he mixes it up, that's where Alex is going to have trouble. Because Alex, listen, all he's been doing with Glover is training takedown defense, training his grappling. He doesn't have to work as much on his striking because he's already a fucking expert at it. And the thing is, if you mix it up, if you change the levels, if you mix up your fighting, things are going to go really well for you. Look at that fight the other week. Jacob Smith mixes it up. Does a beautiful combo. Huge elbow over the top, right into an uppercut, changes level, switches down to a takedown. Double leg. Perfect. And he took him down easily because he's fucking mixing it up. If you mix it up, mix the martial arts. Dangerous. Look at how far some of these guys go. that mix the martial arts, that mix the levels, that go from the striking right into the grappling right into the striking and mix it. You don't know what's coming next. You can't stop something. There will be something. Go back and watch the finish that Alex Volkanovski had over Yair Rodriguez. Beautiful combinations. Had him in the clinch, then took him down. So you went from out of striking distance, into boxing range, into the clinch, into tight, up against the cage, and then onto the ground. All just fluid one motion. Beautiful. Have not seen anything like that since. Rarely do you see anything like that unless you go to the regional scene and look for that stuff, because it's easy to do that against bums. It's not easy to do that against the best fighters in the world. But if you can become an expert at mixing the martial arts, flowing through moments, flowing through combinations, what's going to stop you? What is going to stop you from being one of the best fighters in the world if you mix the martial arts like you are supposed to do? Nothing. Nothing can stop somebody that ultimately is the best at mixing the martial arts. Somebody like an Islam Makhachev. Look at what that dude is doing right now. One of the best in the world. Somebody like an Ilia Topuria, who's clearly talented on the ground, clearly good everywhere, and can put your lights out on the feet. Somebody like a Drix Duplessis, who can take the fight anywhere and beat the best strikers in the world on the feet. Oh, it's not quite working out against Israel Adesanya? Well, we'll just take this thing to the ground and I'll submit you. Look at what he has done. Perfect example of it. Perfect example of it. MMA fighters, when it comes to researching and obtaining the facts to speak on a topic online, I've got absolutely nothing. Diego Lopez, POV in round 4. It's over. Volk's coming for you. Watch out.
Only bitch I'm in a competition with is me.
Volk putting out good content these days. Volk's putting out some decent content these days. All right, more crazy Kev shit. What's he done this time? Bro, imagine Bryce Mitchell versus Justin G. Justin Gaethje's next. He did say he has a big fight. Stop calling me bro. Damn, Kev, you gotta join influencer boxing or something to get some respect, my G. Everybody think you some kind of bitch. There's no 85-pound division. Luke Thomas collab coming soon. With MMA Joe. Good grief. Good God. Oh my word. That's not real, bro. Oh.
Zaxby's just out Phillied the Philly
Oh, we gotta watch
with
this
our
shit.
signature crispy chicken fingers, sauteed peppers and onions.
I know, it was disgusting. It really was. It really was a disgusting press
MMA
conference.
Guru's
Thank
live.
you for the 29 rupees. If I don't
What's
think-
that called?
appreciate
Stream
that.
sniping? I
Thank
don't
you
know
for
how
making
this
my
shit
shift better
works.
the other day. No problem. Appreciate that, man.
What's he talking about?
I tattoo in New Orleans. JDM is one of the boys. He's winning. So will Bryce. The boys 2025. I don't know if he's one of the boys. Let's not rope him in yet. But I do think JDM's going to win.
Today we are welcoming a very special
fucking watch
guest,
this shit.
longtime MMA media member, Luke Thomas. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for.
Mind you, Luke Thomas also said that all MMA fans are fucking evil, terrible human beings. Luke Thomas hates MMA fans. Okay? I wish I could fucking find the UFC that fucking thumbnail he used. Who is this? Combat Capital. Listen, Luke Thomas, he's a journalist. He plays the bad guy. He is what he is. I don't like Luke Thomas because he does not like MMA fans. Why do you not like the people that watch your fucking show that put money in your fucking pocket? You fucking idiot. Tired of his bullshit and all the other guys that are like, oh, MMA fans are so bad. They put money in your fucking pocket, you fucking idiot. How stupid can you be? You're alienating everybody that puts money in your pocket that watches your dumbass show. Let's fucking watch this shit, man. Holy shit.
For having me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. And I know a lot of people who watch this channel, I'm sure you've been around forever. They know who you are. But just in case there's somebody that doesn't, and also I'm kind of curious myself in this respect, do you just solely do your YouTube channel plus Morning Combat? Or is there more to the scope of kind of you being an MMA media member?
At the time in which we are speaking, literally right now, those would be basically the only two things that but you know, the reality of what I've done over the course of my career and even for the future of some things I am planning, there's always stuff to add or subtract or right now just adding, obviously. But there's a couple of things I would say I have in the works. I can't hasn't quite crossed the finish line in terms of its pre-planning, but in general, those would be the two. But I would say there always is the opportunity for more.
I see. So I'm very curious. You've been covering the sport forever. I don't even know the amount of years, but I know you've been around, you know, probably in the early 2000s or a little bit, you know, maybe I know at least since 2010, but you were around long before that. I think you were on like MMA Uncensored on Spike TV. I remember at one point. I'm very curious because I feel like everyone who,
You remember at one point. I say stuff that slips off the tongue that like, oh yeah, I remember that, and I was never fucking there. I don't fucking believe for 1 second that MMA Joey has been an MMA fan for more than, we'll give him 10 years, okay? We'll be nice. We'll give MMA Joey 10 years. I don't have a problem personally with MMA Joey. It's just like, some of the shit that he says just doesn't make any fucking sense, and he flip-flops on shit all the time, much like Luke Thomas. They're a match made in heaven. Two lover boys right here. Let's continue.
you know, wants to get into the MMA landscape, media landscape, they always start off as a fan. I'm curious, how is your fandom today compared to when you first started? Do you ever feel like...
I'll answer it for him. It's zero. He doesn't like MMA anymore. He fucking despises everything that he fucking sees on a daily basis.
burnt out or like wanting to maybe move on to something else? I'm very curious how that is for you.
For sure. I mean, I think it's normal to feel that, especially when you do what I do, which is like you open up the portfolio to boxing as well. And it's like, dude, it's a crushing amount. And if you just think about it realistically, like, I mean, understand something. May I ask how old you are?
I am 32.
32. Okay.
Damn. Joey's 32. Why am I not surprised?
So I got married when I was 32, but I didn't have kids for like another 7 years, and a lot of that was just related to, if I'm just being honest, career prioritization. But I got
no fucking wonder, dog. No fucking wonder this guy's such a miserable fucking hag, dude. I'm 32. I just got married. Probably a smoking hot wife, right? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, let's hold off on having kids. Let's hold off on that. That's your legacy, bro. He has a daughter now. We've heard this. Like, if you watch any Morning Combat, you know this. Loves his daughter. Probably a decent dad. Whatever. Career prioritization. You're married now. Like, no fucking wonder you're so miserable and you hate MMA. You probably regret the last 10 years of your life outside of your daughter. Okay. It's clear that he has some kind of hatred for what the MMA fan base and the MMA world has done to him. And I would imagine if you had just had, I don't know, get married, be happy. Instead, you fucking run yourself into the ground with your career. Everybody's got to work to make money, but, like, what are you doing, dude?
got started, I mean, I was playing around before. I definitely started out as a fan. And then I basically took over what was the original version of Bloody Elbow in February of 2007. And then it's sort of been this kind of windy path throughout, trying different things. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, some of them were fun, some of them weren't, but you're just sort of trying it all. And if we're talking like early stage, I mean, I had like I in 2007, I couldn't imagine anyone being a bigger fan of MMA than me. Like I mean, I'm sure that wasn't true, but like it felt that way internally. I didn't do anything else other than watch. At the time I was training. It had absolutely in every possible way consumed my life. But like the reality is two things. One, this is something I've talked about a lot. The life cycle of fans in the sport is actually very short. There's a real big difference between MMA and boxing. I don't fully understand why, but I mean, I have some theories. I don't fully understand it, but boxing fans tend to just be lifers. And MMA fans are not. I can just tell you matter of factly they are not. They last, anecdotally somewhere around the 5-year mark. That could be earlier, that could be later. Some go as long as 10. And it makes a lot of sense because the amount of fights, over, I mean, it's contracted a little bit more recently in terms of what the overall market is giving you, but back when WEC and Strikeforce and World Series of Fighting, and even before that, Elite XC, and of course UFC and Pride. It was just this enormous.
Yeah, you get burnt out of the bullshit, and you get burnt out from hearing all these fucking idiots like Luke Thomas talk about MMA. Go to YouTube, find somebody that you like to listen to, and fucking listen to them. Somebody that you agree with. When you see a fight and you understand, like, hey, that they keep telling me something about this guy, but in fact, that's not the reality. That's not what my eyes are telling me. When they tell me something, it goes one ear, and I process the information, but it just doesn't seem right. Instinctually, when you watch a fight, you know who's winning or losing. And when they start telling you that Israel Adesanya is the most dangerous fighter, is the best fighter in the world, is this and this and that, and you see him, and you know Israel Adesanya is a great technician, great kickboxer, fantastic at range. When the fight is playing out perfectly, the guy's one of the best in the world. But when you're told that he's a superstar, or Sugar Sean O'Malley is the biggest superstar in the world, and you look at it and you go, the dude's introverted, has no personality. It's different. And Luke Thomas and all these guys that get on here and have these shows and get paid a lot of money to do these shows with these big companies, with these big journalistic outlets, they're not always telling you the truth. Okay? And that's why the lifespan of fans is so short, because you get tired of hearing something that you may or may not recognize as untrue. But it is. And that's the problem that I've run into. Used to listen to Luke Thomas a lot. Used to listen to Ariel Helwani a lot. But everybody has to make their money. Everybody has their own career path and their goals in mind. And you turn on YouTube and you see somebody like a James Lynch, or who knows, an MMA Guru's right there. We were just looking at his stuff a minute ago. Or maybe you like MMA Joey better than you like a Luke Thomas, because maybe MMA Joey is more in line with your thinking and your thought process, and something that you find more enjoyable to watch than just a boring old journalist who does probably good journalistic work. Luke Thomas probably used to do great work, but he doesn't anymore. And he holds this grudge over the fans of MMA as if they did something to him, when in fact I never did anything to Luke Thomas. But he takes it out on people like us and people that watch YouTubers as if we are somehow the problem, as if somehow we have caused him some issues in life. He is the problem. He is why fans get burnt out of MMA. And I know that firsthand because I got tired of it. And there was a point where I didn't even want to hear anything that he had to say. And then you reach a point where you can go find your own favorites. You can go find what you want to listen to. And that's the beauty of user-generated content, because we don't have to listen to fucking Luke Thomas every day of the week.
Enormous amount coming in, and if you don't have a wife and a kid, you could just give a lot of your life to that. But as your career progresses, in my particular case, as my personal life progressed, and then I brought a child into this world, it's just not realistic between the amounts and then the distractions that you would have the exact same level of fandom when it was new and it was all you cared about. And again, also MMA was real different back then, where it was like this little engine that could in the mainstream media, and it was defying all these expectations. But now it's the UFC's like this behemoth. It's a completely different sort of relationship that I think we have to the product by virtue of its,
But again, this has nothing to do with the timeline of MMA fans. That's the generational gap that MMA fans have. That has nothing to do with how long that I am expected to sit around as a fan of MMA. I've been watching MMA every week for a long time now. Many, many years. Probably the first fight that I watched was the first fight on Fox Sports with my dad. That's a long time ago. I was very young then. Very young. And I'm still a fan now. Was I watching every week when I was 6, 7, 8, 10? No. But once I got a grasp of what the sport is, been a diehard fan. Do I get to watch every event live? No. Do I catch every single small promotion across the United States? Do I get to catch every single European event? Do I get to catch every single one championship? No, I'm busy. But I'm still a fan. And if I can watch a great fight that I hear of being a great fight that I need to see, I will go fucking watch it. Okay? I'm not burnt out. I get tired of bullshit like you. I get tired of the bullshit like a Joe Rogan. When he comes in there, great commentator, love Joe Rogan. Love what he does. But when you come in there and spew shit that makes no sense, that doesn't line up with the last 3 weeks of MMA, how it's played out, you just come in there very easily, you just walk right in and do your job like it's nothing, I get pissed off. Makes me mad. When you start pushing narratives that are clearly false, fraudulent, or just blown out of proportion, you get tired of listening to that, and that's where you get burnt out. You don't get burnt out watching good fights. You get burnt out when you listen to everything surrounding the fight game.
Obvious success. So no, my fandom is not what it once was. However, what I try to explain to people is, even if there's been a change, watching fights for me is such a pure joy that, like, that little part of it that you feel internally as like a comfort zone, as a thing that feels familiar to you.
He answered his own fucking question. Oh, I'm burnt out on MMA. I'm burnt out on fighting. Well, then you just said, what are you talking about? Then it's still the love of your life, the fact that you sit down and watch fights. Shocking, Luke Thomas. Shocking.
As an enterprise that is intriguing to you, as a thing that, dude, this is, this fighting, like, people who love fighting, it speaks to their soul in a certain kind of way. None of that has changed. It just, obviously, by virtue of the way my life, by most people's lives have gone by their mid-40s, it does have a more transactional relationship. But I just want to be clear, like, that little kernel of fan inside.
You also work in the industry and you're around it. That's the only thing you're around 24/7. If you work and live and breathe MMA, you're going to get burnt out of it eventually in some aspect of things. If he wasn't a MMA journalist and talked about MMA for 10 hours a week, he probably wouldn't be as burnt out on it. He'd probably sit down and enjoy the fights much like many of us do. I'm just on here having fun. MMA Guru's live right now. He's just sitting down having fun. This is not a career to him where he has to work and bust his ass to get on television and have an ego and be the smartest in the room. You're just fucking having fun being yourself. There's a difference between people who have fun at their job and people who have a fun job.
And that bond I have with watching fights, that remains totally unchanged.
For me,
Luke Thomas has a fun job. He gets to cover something he's passionate about. But it's not a fun job. somebody that's live streaming for a living. They have fun at their job. I mean, Luke Thomas has fun at his job. MMA Guru, somebody like that, has a fun job. Streaming and getting to do what you want at your own pace, grind for a little bit, make enough money to where you can successfully sustain yourself. MMA Joey, maybe. It's a fun job to just sit there and talk online and sit in your fucking underwear and talk about MMA. Like, that's fun. Being a journalist, not always fun, but you can have fun doing it if it's something you're passionate about. There's the difference. That's what I'm talking about.
Me personally, I feel like I go through boom and bust periods. I've been watching since 2010 is when I first started watching. And I feel like, I know every person is like, oh, it ain't what it used to be. I feel like it used to be like the cards were so much better. Maybe it's just one of those things where you're playing revisionist history, but I feel like as time has gone on, more cards have gotten watered down and there's just a card every single week. And it's like, I understand there's not going to be massive names on every card, but when we do get to those massive cards with those amazing main events, I feel it, you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit bummed out about like, okay,
I don't understand. This is what I'm fucking talking about. This fucking narrative that all of a sudden MMA cards and UFC cards fucking suck, dude. When have there not been bad cards every other fucking week? Explain to me the last time in the history where every other week there wasn't a shitty-ass card. You want to go through every single fight card over the last 10 years? The week after fucking sucks. 9 times out of 10. Okay. What is this? UFC 251. Fight Night 251. Gregory Rodriguez, Jared Cannonier. You want to say that sucks, or does it fit the Apex mold? Song Yadong, does that suck, or does that fit the Fight Night mold? That fight card didn't suck. Desmond El Cap and Nasu Almabayev suck. No, it does not have the name value, but it's in the fucking Apex. I hope they don't have name value on a fucking Apex card. UFC 313. Good main card. Don't like Amanda Lemos and Yasmin Lucindo, obviously on there. But like, that's a good, solid pay-per-view. Marvin Vettori. This one, it stinks, but it's an Apex card. The next fight night. Leon Edwards, Sean Brady, Jan Blachowicz, Carlos Oberg, Gunnar Nelson, Kevin Holland. It's pretty good. Lots of local talent. Moreno Urseg. Brandon Moreno, Steve Ursay, Manuel Torres, Drew Dober, 2 great fights. Kelvin Gastelum, Joe Piper, great fight. David Martinez, Simon Oliveira, great fight. Ronaldo Rodriguez, Kevin Borjas, great fight. Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy, fucking banger main event. Iffy undercard, okay, not a great card, you want to say. 314 is fucking fantastic. 315 is the next card that's been announced. Not fantastic. I do not like this as a pay-per-view because there's too many women's fights on the main card, but it is what it is. José Aldo's on there. Micah Morales, Gilbert Burns, okay. JDM, Bilal Muhammad. There's 2 title fights on that one. Where the fuck is the bad card? Why are all the cards so bad? UFC 312 stunk ass. Stunk. But the week before was a great fight night, according to many. UFC 311 was fucking fantastic. Darren Rebus sucked. Okay? So what is that? 1 or 2 out of 15 that stunk? On the whole, do the Apex cards stink? Yeah, they do. I don't like the Apex cards. But if you're going to use the Apex as just filler bullshit, as every single week we're going to have a fight card and we're going to have to fill some cards with bullshit, that's perfect. Apex cards stink. I can miss them without much hesitation. I can miss them without too much emotion. I don't have a problem with that. And to act like all of a sudden 2025 has been terrible. 2025 has been pretty damn good to us. Let's go back. What's the card that sticks out to my mind that's fresh in my mind? UFC 259. Because I'm thinking about Jan Blachowicz. I just said his name. Fresh in my mind. Israel Adesanya. Fresh in my mind. Let's look at this card. One of the best pay-per-views from top to bottom that you may ever see. 3 championship fights, prelims with Dominic Cruz, Kyler Phillips, Song Yudong, Joey B, Askar Askarov, Bontarine, Kai Kara France on the prelims, early prelims, Tim Elliott, Kennedy Nzechukwu, Carlos Olberg now, Sean Brady, Jake Matthews, Uros Medic, Mario Bautista, Trevin Jones. Look at what they're doing now. Those are the early prelims of a pay-per-view. Fantastic pay-per-view. The week before, Ciryl Rosenstruck, Nikita Krylov, Magomed Ankalaev, good fight. Women's fight, don't care. Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera, good fight. Alex Caceres, Kevin Kroom, Alex Caceres, pretty solid guy, right? Hernandez and Thiago Moises, that's a good fight. Blaze Lewis, solid, 2-58. Kind of stunk, yeah. But what are we talking about? Like, all of a sudden, lately, the fight cards suck because they're spreading them out amongst too many cards. Listen, if they play their cards right, if they do the Apex right, and they use the Apex to their advantage in the right way, then I have no issue with it. The Apex has its uses, okay? It's useful in certain ways. And if they don't use it in that right way, then yeah, it's not right and the cards suck. But they should play their cards right. If they play the Apex right, which it looks like they're doing, Apex cards, good main event, decent main event, but the rest of the card kind of stinks. It's in a smaller cage. Do I want Lerone Murphy and Josh Emmett to be fighting in the big cage? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone out there that doesn't want that. Right. That's what we all want to see.
Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Hebos at the Apex. But then when we get like an Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev, and that card, you say what you will. We just had a co-main event fall off of that today. We'll talk about that. But I feel like when those events come back, I feel like for me, I just immediately jump back into like me as like the at the point in time where I was the biggest fan of MMA. But I want to tell you this. So MMA media as a whole kind of was like an inspiration for me to start my channel, because mainly I was just unhappy with MMA media. But I didn't invite you on to tell you like a whole backstory about how I feel and this and that, but I wanted to tell you this. And people who've watched my channel since the early days know about this, but probably back in around 2010 to 2000.
The MMA media fucking sucks. Fucking sucks. They stink. And listen, that's not because of Dana. Like, my reason is not Dana White's reason. Dana White's reason is that journalists ask hard questions and I get annoyed by journalists. Journalists need to ask the tough questions. Journalists need to be in MMA. They need to ask the hard questions. They need to play the bad guy. MMA media stinks because of the people behind it, the people that have the money that are pushing it, people that get in charge, like a Dana White who only let in a selective amount. It's all corrupt. Okay, it's all corrupt. And I don't want to listen to it. I don't want to listen to bullshit. I want to listen to the fucking truth. I want to listen to, look at the facts. Here they are. Now this is why this fight's not happening. Can I listen to an interview from Ariel? Can I listen to an interview from so-and-so? But interview for interview, somebody like a James Lynch is doing much better work than a fucking Luke Thomas is at this point. Luke Thomas is bought and paid for. He says he does it for the money. He doesn't care about anything else. He would sacrifice family life for a better career outlook. He said it himself 2 minutes ago.
15, there was one MMA show that I would watch religiously, and I happen to have a piece of memorabilia right here. Do you recognize this, Luke? Do you recognize this? I used to watch the MMA Beat every single week, and I think this actually went to like a military like charity or something. And I remember hearing that, and I bought this.
Wow. I have one. I have one copy of, I have one of them in my.
All right, great. Luke Thomas fanboy here. Again, Luke Thomas, back before he was jaded and hated life because of what he's done to himself, probably did some good work. Did some good journalistic work back in the day. But as an MMA commentator, don't need to hear anything from him. Don't need to hear anything from him. Not at all.
My upstairs cabinet. I don't even wear it, obviously. It's just sort of a memento at this point. Yeah, man, that was a fun show. That was a real fun show. It was different. MMA media is so completely different, even when Dude, it's so weird. Okay. February of 2007, at the time, it wasn't called Vox Media. It was just called SB Nation. And SB Nation ended up being a smaller subsidiary brand to the bigger company, but there wasn't even a bigger company at that point. And so they asked me to run Bloody Elbow. And it was kind of funny when my first order of business was I wanted to change the name and they didn't let me. They kept it there, which ended up being a bit of a problem for them later on. But what are you going to do? Well, I bring us all.
What the fuck? What do you need to change Bloody Elbow for? Might I ask what your issue was with Bloody Elbow, Luke Thomas? The name. Like, who fucking cares? You've been asked to be put in charge of this. You're way out of your depth here. You're likely not qualified, but you're the best candidate for the role, so we're going to put you in the role, and now you want to fucking change the name. Why? I'm just curious. I mean, maybe he has a good reason. But why? Why do people get such an ego when they get into the media? Again, I'm on here. I'm live. I don't give a fuck. Make fun of me. Do whatever you want. I don't give a shit. I go on and live my life. I'm not a public figure. Not famous. Don't care. What is this with all these egos when you get into the corporate world, when you get into the media space? Why does everybody in media want to be the best and be the best and be the biggest and be the most famous and do this and do that? Just do a fucking good job of being a journalist. Just be a good journalist and hit on the facts. Tell us the facts. Just do that shit. That's all I need from you. That's your job. That's what you get paid for. That's why fans pay or read or watch or whatever. I don't need to hear all the bullshit about I needed to change the name. I needed to do this. I needed to do your job. Do your job like everybody else. Do your job like every other hardworking person. And the riches will come. And people like that, people like Luke Thomas seem to not understand that in full.
All up to say what was so funny in February of 2007 was that the goal that we all had was trying to convince mainstream institutions, ESPNs at the time, AOL, whatever, whoever had money for corporate media was trying to convince them to create roles so that people could cover MMA for them. It was a growing sport. It's a growing audience. You're not tapping into it. It's a lot of young people, blah, blah, blah. And then it worked. It actually worked. Like a lot of places ended up hiring folks. But then now you're beginning to see a slow contraction of that. It's funny. All the jobs that we wanted them to create all are going to last about 15 years. And I actually think what you do is much more the future of media than really anything else. I don't know if you consider yourself a media member in that particular way, but what you're referring to with the MMA Beat, I'll give him credit. It was Ariel Helwani's idea. And the first episode was me, him, Mike Chiappetta. Longtime folks might remember that name. And then it just kind of grew from there. And it was an attempt to, as we were trying to get these mainstream institutions to like respect the kind of journalism we were doing. Some of that was happening, but a lot of it wasn't. And so Ariel had this idea, like, let's just do something that they would do under our own auspices here. And it worked. It worked really well. I give him a lot of credit for that. The vast majority of the credit, in fact. Fun time. The end of that was not my favorite time, but the vast majority of it certainly was. And that's really, really awesome that you have that. I'm impressed. Truly, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way I can have you on and not bring that up.
So MMA Joey proves his longevity, proves that he's been around the game, proves that he's been listening to this stuff for a long time. He's been a fan for a long time. Okay, fair enough. Let's move on.
I had to dig that out of my closet today.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, that show at the time, and I don't want to go on a crazy rant about it, but it just felt like the future, because what you had is you had four people who knew the sport, whether you liked them or hated them, and you guys would all go back and forth. And it was so enjoyable to watch back then. I always tell people are like, oh, what kind of MMA content do you watch? What MMA YouTubers do you watch? What media members are your favorite? I'm like, look, I'm not a huge fan of really any of them. What I used to really love was the MMA Beat, because you guys were all on their own panel. I think you guys did it like every Friday. At least that's what you did do for a while.
Thursdays.
Was it Thursdays?
Yeah.
Maybe I just always watched it on Friday after the fact, but I just wanted to bring that up. I just wanted to bring that up. Now, speaking of the MMA media landscape, I'm very curious of your thoughts.
All right. So, again, they did it. They were the first. They pioneered it, whatever, right? That's great. Back when they were young and they were hungry to do good work, and now look at them. Now look at what they're doing. They're just spewing and throwing shit at the floor, seeing what sticks, pushing narratives where they want to push them, and saying things or not saying things where they don't want to say them. Why are more fighters? Why are they not speaking more about fighters not picking up their money from the antitrust lawsuit? Because at the end of the day, what comes around goes around. If you spark all this conflict and controversy, you either get clicks or you get shut down. It's not real anymore for some of these guys, like a Luke Thomas or an Ariel Helwani, who have taken the corporate road to having a show, having a podcast.
On the landscape as a whole, I know you kind of went into it a little bit there, but I have always felt like, and I actually feel like you've been a little bit ahead of the curve, the way you've kind of run your solo YouTube channel for a long, long time, back doing the live chat and whatnot. Where do you think it's heading? Because, you hear Dana White saying they want to replace all the media that shows up at events with influencers. You've kind of seen, it seems like every day you get on YouTube, there's 150 new YouTube channels covering it. There's the traditional MMA media, I feel like personally, and I'm sure a lot of fans feel this way as well, the ones who are there at every event and, are more of, in line with the UFC, they're not really openly criticizing the UFC, at least not to the extent a lot of fans would like to see. And it seems like it's kind of dying off because the UFC doesn't like them when they criticize them. The fans don't like them for not criticizing. So now it's almost like they don't have an audience. And it seems like that's where independent MMA media, i.e. YouTube or some of their own websites or an entity like Morning Combat, which I believe is just mainly YouTube, I feel like that's really rising up, and that's the future.
Nobody gives a fuck about Morning Combat. I'll say it right now. MMA Guru in the middle of the fucking night here in America has got 1.3 fucking thousand people watching him. And Morning Combat would fucking love to have 2,000 people in the middle of the afternoon on a perfect Monday or Friday when everybody's fucking watching their online shows. And they can't fucking pull the viewers that fucking MMA Guru does. Get the fuck out of here with that. Nobody gives a fuck about Morning Combat. Nobody gives a fuck about Ariel Helwani anymore. Nobody's watching their fucking shows. They're putting up so much money, DraftKings, because these motherfuckers, they have no talent. They have connections. They've been in the game for a long time. They do good work. They're well-spoken. They're well-trained. But they do not have the talent to put on a show like an MMA Guru, like a Lucas Tracy, like many of the other YouTubers out there, even a MMA Joey. If somebody likes MMA Joey out there, fucking let me know. But I would rather watch MMA a-holes, MMA Guru, Lucas Tracy, than a fucking Luke Thomas and Ariel Helwani because they're not talented and they're not interesting. Do I tune in? Do I listen sometimes? Yes, because that's where the news is. That's where the connections are. And that's how the business world works. If you have the connections, you have the in. You have the training, you have the funding, the backing behind you, and that's what these guys have. People on YouTube don't have that. They don't have the connections. They don't know Dana White. They don't have the backing of Dana White, for example. All these media outlets, the backing of the Mac Life, like Conor McGregor does. Oscar Willis that works in the Mac Life, for example. All these guys, they have some kind of backing. There's some kind of corporate backing to them, but it's not interesting. They're not talented. They're just one out of 1,000 guys that you could pick to come run those channels to do that work. There's many passionate fans that would be very interested to run in there and ask Dana White questions. You're not special. You've been around a long time. There's a difference. And now that there's a such thing as social media, user-generated content, people gravitate toward what they're interested in, to what makes them laugh, to what sparks their interest, to what sparks their critical thinking. And people that are well-trained to deliver the news, it doesn't draw views anymore. It's dead. Nobody's interested in bullshit. Nobody's interested in clickbait. Nobody's interested in getting clicks and creating controversy out of thin air when there's no need for it. Talk about a topic when it's newsworthy, not when you need news and you're going to make something up, or you're going to draw something up, or you're going to pull something out of proportion, blow something out of proportion. That's not real news. And that's what these guys have to resort to collect a paycheck.
Of covering the UFC and covering MMA in general. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a great and it's a big question. I'll just answer it as briefly as I can. I think media, as we traditionally understand them, the guys on Media Row, these, and I know virtually all of them. There's some faces I don't know when the last time I went, but in general, I know them all, and they're in trouble. They're in trouble. They're in trouble for a lot of reasons. Partly the fact that they don't offer enough, like they need to not criticize. I'm talking about the ones that go to the shows, obviously, not the ones at like home, but like, you know, the reality is if you're super difficult to work, if the UFC finds you super difficult to work with, that's going to affect, you know, what kind of access you get, and then what that, if you even get it at all. And so that's a really big problem. But the problem is they are absolutely guaranteeing their obsolescence, because they can't have an honest conversation about what's actually happening. They have to have it on terms that are at least nominally favor to the UFC, and then everyone can pick up on the fact that that's not real. And so some other person might come out, and maybe this person is a dumbass or a loudmouth or not. It could be any variety of person. But if they speak in a way that the fans view as authentic, they have grabbed the mantle away from what the...
And you don't speak that way, Luke Thomas. Ariel Helwani does not speak that way. You are not fucking authentic. You're in the same fucking boat, and you're trying to separate yourself by getting on shows like MMA Joey and trying to pretend like you are something better than you are, in which you are not. Luke Thomas, very smart guy, well-educated, but I don't give a fuck about it, okay? I don't care about him personally. There's no connection there. I don't feel anything when I listen to Luke Thomas. He does great breakdowns here and there, whatever it is, what it is, but that's not interesting. There's no emotional investment. He's a journalist. He breaks stuff down. He does what he does. Somebody like a Dan Hardy, who was a former fighter, who has a personality, who had to build something for himself in the media world. That's something I'd rather listen to when it comes to the breakdowns. No matter how smart and eloquent Luke Thomas is, if somebody can give me a breakdown that I know has been in there, been in the cage, done these things, I'd much rather listen to that. And to pretend and come on here as if you're so much better than all these media members that suck off Dana White, like, that's fine and good, and it's true that they do, but you're not really necessarily any better in other ways.
Core job of the media is supposed to have been that they have, again, and when I say they, I mean it's really their bosses and the owners of these companies that force them into this.
Yeah, man,
it's not like these guys
you work for DraftKings.
People think that they just show up and like, I'm going to lick a boot today. It rarely happens that way. It is usually a program director, it is an editor, it is somebody, a producer calling you being like, yeah, we're not going to do it this way, like it's just not going to happen. And so they are guaranteeing their own obsolescence. That by the way is coinciding with, you know, again, 2007, what was the great way to reach people? There's no IG, there's no TikTok, there's no Twitter even then. Like, what is there? There's websites. Websites are RSS feeds. That was a great way to do it. The website still has, in this industry or any other, it still has some value, but it is diminishing, and that's only going to continue. And I think that's going to clear out a lot of people as well. And then you heard, as you indicated, Dana's like, oh, I'm going to move him up to the rafters. Like, that's the most predictable thing that anybody with half a brain should have seen coming. Dude, if influencers who, you know, they're not like, from what I can understand, most influencers are not just like the only thing they do is MMA. They do like typically, not always, but typically a wide variety of things. And then MMA will just be one of their focuses. And so as a consequence, they're casting a wide net. And because they cast a wide net, they have huge audiences. So let me see if I understand this. They have a bigger audience. They don't even bother with the pretense of journalism. And they're young and they're hip and all this stuff. Like, if you're Dana and there's no penalty for, you know, at least in any way.
And it's stupid, and real fans don't like that shit. Nina Drama's beyond stupid. Who the fuck cares about watching that shit? I don't find it interesting remotely. When you get your tits out for the camera, I lose any respect that I had for you. I don't care if your interviews are funny and you put out good content, good for you. I don't know who's watching that. 15-year-olds are watching a 35-year-old woman go around pulling her tits out for fighters. Like, I don't fucking care, okay? Like, anybody who's got any self-respect doesn't really fucking care. If you're a 15-year-old, great, that's what you want to watch, but MMA fans do not want to watch that. And Dana is trying to stay hip with the times and gather a new audience. It's a completely different conversation than what's actually going on here between Luke and MMA Joey.
He could be ever forced to pay one. There's no penalty for sidelining the media. Why wouldn't you? I'm not advocating that.
Right.
Please understand. I'm just thinking rationally. If you're him, Why would you simply not do that? The people who are
It
going
makes
to
sense. It's
win,
the business
and
move
this is something
to
I
make.
picked up on a long fucking time ago. And how you do it, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But one thing I realized at one of my jobs when I was in the industry was there were things that I wanted to happen, and they just weren't happening. And I wanted the people I was working for to help facilitate some of these things, and they just refused year after year. And so I thought to myself, I don't agree with them. I want to be able to do the things that I want to do. So I began to invest in content that was more appealing to me, but that I could own. I own the content. I own the IP. It is mine. And not only that, I own the means of, well, I mean, ultimately our tech overlords own the means of production to distribute it. But in a sense, I was in control of my own little fiefdom about.
That's fair enough, and that's probably where I'll end it for tonight. That is what it is. And Luke Thomas makes some good points. Again, he's an educated guy, smart guy, makes good points a lot of the time. It's just like I have a problem with his ego, and I have a problem with how he talks down to everybody and how he always thinks he's the smartest person in the room. You're not always the smartest person in the room. You're not the first person to think of that shit. It's just how the world works, and if you're smart, you know that user-generated content is king, and ultimately sitting up on your ivory tower doing a produced show for a produced company in a corporate environment is not going to be what people gravitate towards, and that's why somebody like an MMA guru who's live right now, and I encourage you to go check that out, or anybody else who might be live right now in the middle of the night here in America. That's where the heart of content is. That's where the heart of all this drama really is, because nobody wants to. There's a middle ground between a fucking Nina drama, an MMA guru, and a fucking Luke Thomas who just works for his corporate overlords and has been brainwashed and all this stuff, and it's just crazy across the board. You can like who you like, watch who you watch, and I encourage you to watch and listen, and don't take my opinion for anything. It is what it is. I'm just sitting here fucking chatting it up. We're doing what we're doing, having fun. But to pretend like somebody like a Luke Thomas is so much better than us because he's been through the ringer and this and that, and yes, he knows more from a corporate standpoint, but you don't know more about the world and how normal people operate because you tend to think that you are so much better than other people, and that MMA fans are so stupid and so silly, and why would you ever affiliate yourself with MMA fans when you make money from MMA fans? And ultimately, at the end of the day, that is fucking ridiculous to say shit like that. And he has put out videos talking about how bad MMA fans are, and it's absolutely embarrassing. And Luke Thomas, I agree with some stuff he says sometimes, but most of the time, it's just foolish, and it annoys me. And we'll call it a day there. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Enjoyed being